Can't trust Brett Maher. You got one kicker. You got one kick. 35-yard field goal. The stakes are your life. Gil Leberton, who's your kicker?
Hall of Famer Morton Anderson. Of course.
Not bad. It's
Everybody
very homerish, but it's not bad. John Henry, who do you got?
Adam Vinatieri's.
That's pretty good, too.
Kicked a few big ones.
I would take a guy who's not with us today because John Henry didn't put him out. Give me Tattoo. We got ourselves a 3, 4, maybe a 5-alarm fire with your Dallas Cowboys, and we're here to put it out. Or are we here to flame it? It is PressBox DFW Live. Richie Witt alongside two venerable Metroplex sports writers, John Henry, Gil Leberton. Let's get right to this. Do we have Ed Werder on the phone?
You do.
We have the venerable Ed Werder. What's up, my man? How are you doing?
We're doing well. How are you? I thought esteemed was better. Use that to describe me in a tweet.
I know.
If we could go with esteemed for the rest of the show instead of venerable, I'd appreciate it.
I thought about that for a long time.
We needed to distinguish you.
Yes.
You needed from us too.
It is a longtime DFW writer and sports personality, now ESPN NFL reporter, back where he belongs. It's Ed Werder. Appreciate you joining PressBox DFW Live. First of all, let's talk NFL before we get into the Cowboys. You know, my dad complained about the clothesline was illegal and there was too much crowd noise, and bitching about the refs is like as old as football, right? But after the game last night, and not just that, but after what we've seen this year, we saw it even in the Cowboys game. Ed, does the NFL have an epidemic officiating problem this year?
I think there's an officiating crisis in that, you know, the officials, despite public sentiment to the contrary, you know, these are objective, competent, professional people, and they're enormously frustrated with the system. The fans are understandably outraged. And I think most importantly, the coaches are really exasperated by the whole thing. You know, I've had head coaches tell me in recent weeks that it's become so unpredictable and arbitrary in terms of the enforcement of the rules that they have no idea what's going to be called from week to week, and that's the biggest unknown in terms of deciding the outcome of these games, and it's too often the most significant component. And to me, it's egregious that they voted unanimously in the aftermath of the non-call, the NFC Championship game, to make pass interference something the coaches can challenge.
Right, it never gets changed. Right, absolutely. It never gets changed now.
Well, and Al Riveron has declined in nearly every instance to overturn a call in that regard, to the point that the coaches now don't even bother to challenge a blatantly wrong call because, and the whole thing just undermines the integrity of an important element in the game and creates public confidence in the league overall. I mean, last night, Matt Patricia should have had, you know, he should have felt like he could challenge that defensive pass interference call last night in a game decided by 1 point.
Yep.
And Jason Garrett should have been able to throw his red challenge flag on the offensive OPI in the end zone that cost the Cowboys a fourth-quarter touchdown in a 2-point game, and yet they know they're wasting a timeout and a challenge because a play won't be fairly reviewed and corrected. It's just ridiculous.
I mean, amen. And it's actually, for the first time in my life, it's negatively affecting my viewing experience of the product. And I'm a customer of the NFL. Gil and John Henry, you guys feel the same way? Are the refs a big deal, or am I making too much of it?
Oh, no, you're definitely not making too much of it. My question is, how did this all start? Is this all a reaction to the non-call in the NFC Championship game? Has football become too fast for these people? Why are they running scared like this?
Yeah.
I have a theory.
Well,
let's hear your theory, John, then we'll get to Ed.
Go ahead.
That I'd like to hear Ed talk about.
Well, I just think, you know, a part of it is it's this overlord position that they've created with Al Riveron in New York, who basically oversees every single game and makes every single critical review and call, right?
Yes.
And the phraseology that he uses when he makes a decision really creates doubt, I think, because instead of saying the call on the field is confirmed, all too often he says the call stands.
Yes.
Which, it creates an element of uncertainty, of ambiguity that, well, I'm not saying what I'm suggesting is there's not enough evidence to change the call, but I'm not saying the call on the field is right either, right? So don't hold me to that.
Exactly
but
right.
yeah, I mean, the number of penalties has gone up. We've seen in the last 2 years, 7 of the NFL's 17 referees have left. And they've lost Mike Pereira, who was a former supervisor of officials, Dean Blandino, former supervisor of officials. And I don't think they've replaced any of these people with more competent people. And the game's not getting any slower or any less complicated. And so to me, that's what's created this whole dynamic that we have right now, where people walk away from a game and all they talk about is the officiating. Now, Richie's right. People have always, fans of the losing team have always complained about the officiating being against them, and I don't think that's hardly ever true. But that's not the perception, and I think that the league doesn't have the credibility in this area that it needs.
I agree.
My concern when they brought in instant replay was that it would make the officiating worse because they don't have to get every call right.
Right.
That sounds preposterous that on the face value, but I can't deny now that it's wrong.
Yeah, that was my concern. I mean, I rather live with human error. I like human error. It's part of the game. I like my game that way. I like human error. The players make errors.
Hate human error. Hate it. Can't stand it. I wish robots
I'm
got every call right. That's
I'm
what
an
I wish.
expert in human error.
Yeah, you are. That's true. Ed, you watch
So
the.
I think part of the problem is that Al Riveron is not seen by these officiating teams as part of their group, right? He's a separate entity unto himself.
Yes.
And I think the solution is what a lot of coaches wanted at the spring meetings before the system we have now was created, and that is to have a sky judge. In effect, somebody up high in a stadium who has access to, high resolution, high definition, slow motion replay, but is part of the group of officials on the field each week. Like they travel with that group of officials. They're embraced as part of the team. They're looking out for the group that's actually on the field. That's not the way these guys feel about Al Riveron's role.
That sounds like a great idea.
He's an outsider, and
Right.
he's trying to undermine their efforts to call the game correctly.
Sky Judge, the way you just described it, Ed, sounds like a perfect, at least a Band-Aid for what ails this. How close are we to that? And again, there's bad calls in every game every week, but on the heels of the Cowboys-Jets, the OPI in the end zone, which was horrible, and what we saw last night with the Lions at least helping lose a game in Green Bay with 2 phantom hands to the face calls. Will anything get changed this season, or is this another offseason? Let's table it.
Well, the chance exists today because Al Riveron is at the league owners meetings, and he's going to make a presentation to the competition committee. So
Yikes.
they can do anything they want. My guess is that they won't admit that this is an issue of serious consequence and requiring an immediate solution. So I think the system will remain as it is for the rest of the season, and then this coach's challenge being allowed on calls and non-calls on pass interference, I think is experimental for 1 year. I think it goes away. And then I think the issue or the potential solution of a sky judge is looked at as a potential long-term solution to the bad situation they've got right now.
Ed Werder joining us on PressBox DFW Live, longtime sports writer. So let's talk some Cowboys specifics now. You and I covered the Cowboys back when there were newspapers and newspaper wars in this town. So we kind of know how he operates. And I think you're going to be on the same page with me. Ed, just tell Gil and John here in the studio and all of our viewers and listeners, just calm down. Jason Garrett is going to make it through the season, like it or not, right?
Well, I think unless his team quits on him,
There you go. Like they did on Wade Phillips.
In a way that they did on Wade Phillips on a Monday, was it a Monday night or a Sunday night
Thursday
game in
night
Green
game,
Bay
yeah.
where they lost by 35 points, in a way that defensive players were turning down tackles and allowing touchdowns, then I think Jason Garrett is safe. I mean, that's the only time that Jerry Jones has fired a coach during the season, and he did it even then with great reluctance. But it was obviously merited. And the other factor is he had the next coach on the staff. I mean, Jason Garrett was going to be the Cowboys head coach after Wade Phillips. Whenever the Wade Phillips era ended, and however it ended, the next coach was always going to be Jason Garrett. That situation, to me, does not exist on the current coaching staff.
Agreed. So Jerry this morning here on local radio says Jason would be very highly sought after if he was on the open market. You have your pulse on the finger on the pulse of a lot of NFL owners and GMs. Is that true? Is Jason Garrett thought of in NFL circles as would he be highly sought after?
I don't know if he'd be highly sought after. I imagine there are a lot of people in the Cowboys fan base who'd like to see if Jerry's statement is correct or not.
There's no doubt.
But I think he is respected in the league, especially not only for his coaching acumen and the stability that he's provided, and the mindset that a lot of people in the league like, that the public just abhors with Jason Garrett, the process and every day is its own entity, and be great that moment, and yada yada yada. Fans have not embraced that in Dallas, but I think universally in the NFL, most owners and general managers like that approach. And then I think he gets credit for, he made an impassioned speech at the owners' meetings about this officiating issue that got a lot of people's attention and created a lot of positive collateral for Jason Garrett. But I think we all know that Jerry Jones is a very stubborn man.
Yep.
Who does not easily admit to being wrong. It's almost as though he believes a mistake isn't a mistake until you confess to it. And to me, that's not unlike Michael Irvin's deny till you die philosophy.
Maybe that's why they got along so well. Now, he is 77, and he has told you, and I'm sure he's told me, I'm sure he's told you this, I don't have a lot of time to have a good time. I mean, he looks in the mirror and realizes he's not getting any younger. Does that kind of force his hand, maybe even at the end of the year, if not sooner?
Well, the fact of the matter is they deliberately put Jason Garrett in this position, right?
True.
As much as they might not like the speculation and think it's a negative in terms of preparing the team and that there isn't the public confidence in the coach that they'd like to have, the fact of the matter is they chose this situation very deliberately. That when they were extending, Tank Lawrence and Jalen Smith and any number of other players, they made a decision on the head coach and had him coach into the final year of his contract for the second time in his career. They liked the results they got the last time in 2014.
Right.
When he won the division and they won a playoff game and then they lost in Green Bay on a dubious call, since we're talking about officiating.
Yep.
So I think, and Jerry, they could erase all the questions about Garrett right now. Like if they just announced, hey, we're extending his contract right now, that'd be the end of it.
Wow.
But that's not
Boy,
what
that'd
they've
be
done.
popular.
That would be pretty ballsy of Jerry to come out today and go, have an announcement about Jason Garrett for a 3:00 press conference, and then I'm extending him 5 years.
Watts would have nothing.
If he's committed, he'd be committed, right? That would be the end. So they're not committed. No matter what they say, they're not committed. And I thought it was interesting that he said this morning on the radio that if, what did he say? Something to the effect of, if he wasn't totally confident or if I totally disagreed with Jason Garrett's philosophy, he wouldn't be the head coach. Totally. Interesting.
Yes.
Totally. So he suggests that maybe he doesn't agree with everything that Jason Garrett does.
Exactly.
But beyond not extending his contract, I mean, internally and then publicly, they have said what they think of the talent on this roster.
Yes.
That it's the deepest, most talented team they've had since they won Super Bowls in the 90s. Oh, and by the way, we need to take the next step. So there it is to me. Like, I think Jason Garrett gets the whole year unless the players quit on him, which I don't envision happening. And at the end of the season, I think if Jason Garrett hasn't gotten this team to the NFC Championship game, I think Jerry's going to move on.
I 100% agree with that, and that's what I've written several times. The
That
only
must be
way
where I got it.
the only way I think Garrett goes in season is, like you said, if the Cowboys are after Thanksgiving lifeless, they quit, and they're 0-8 after losing to the Bills at home on Thanksgiving. 8 losses in a row, and they've given up effort. Then I think Jerry has to make a move. Other than that, Garrett's making it to the end of the year. Gil, like it or not.
Well, why would you make the move then? I mean, the reason that
Because that would be embarrassing. That would hurt the brand. That would tarnish his cherished brand. As long as you're losing games, he's done that for 20 years. He can survive that.
Yeah, well,
Well, and the other thing that happens when you make a mid-season coaching change, and he was fine with it when he fired Wade Phillips because, like I said, he wanted Garrett to be the long-term coach. But you risk getting stuck with whoever you make the interim coach if he has enough success. Like, who are they going to appoint? Like, who's doing such an outstanding job on that staff right now that they deserve a promotion and the opportunity to be a head coach in the NFL for the first time?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Funny you mentioned that
And
because
if you appoint that guy and the team responds because players are often worried about their own future, so it gets their attention, they become more focused, they maybe give a little more effort, and you start winning games all of a sudden, now you've stuck yourself, well, how are you going to fire this guy? He just won 7 straight games.
Exactly. It's a mess all the way around. All right, let's talk about, I'm sure you watched some Cowboys Jets on Sunday. What did you think about, and we're going to roll some video here, Ziggy, the 2-point play after the touchdown, the Cowboys had a chance to tie it. The Jets came with a 0 blitz, just saying, Dak Prescott, I dare you to make a play. What did you think of the call? What did you think of the execution? Just to kind of take us through that.
Well, first of all, I think there were a number of other opportunities the Cowboys had. I think they squandered 14 points. We can go over that later.
No doubt, sure.
But I think you have to anticipate that Greg Williams, given his reputation and what he's shown you throughout the course of the game, that he's going to attack your quarterback. That's what he does. And for them to allow Jamal Adams, New York's best defensive player, to get on their quarterback and make physical contact with him in under 2 seconds is something clearly you have to plan to avoid, and I think the Cowboys did a very poor job of that.
I'm totally with you. Greg Williams, he's going to set his hair on fire and try to put pressure on the quarterback. But I don't mind my Hall of Fame tight end, Jason Witten, going against Marcus May, the cornerback, in a one-on-one situation. Dak's got to get rid of that ball a little bit sooner. But you're right. The margin for error and the decision-making sliver of time he had was just something that didn't feel that well thought out. Gil, what did you think about that last play?
Even with Travis Frederick sticking his foot out to trip him.
He tried, yeah.
It didn't. Yeah, you got to get the ball out quicker.
You think it's on Dak?
I think it's on the line. I mean, I think it's on the somebody there. Well, the offensive line's not playing well. They're not. They've disappointed, along with many other facets of the team. I don't have any problem with the call there. I think quarterback needs to adjust and get the ball out quicker. That's all.
Yeah. All right.
I think if you have a problem with the call, to me, it's that once again in a red area situation, the Cowboys fail to capitalize, and partly because they don't use the full skill set that Dak Prescott brings at quarterback. Like, in that situation, I always want the quarterback on the move.
Sure.
And I want to give him a run-pass option and make it difficult for the defense. Like, if he reverse pivots out of that and takes off to his right, Adams is completely out of the play.
Absolutely.
He's trapped inside. And then you've got a corner or, a linebacker who's got to make a decision on whether he's going to, play the run, Dak to run, or he's going to play, Dak to throw the football. And to me, that would have been probably a better option than the one the Cowboys went with.
Obviously. And even if that linebacker or cornerback makes the right decision, Ed, they've still got to tackle Dak Prescott, who we've seen over and over again. He's only durable. He's hard to bring down for a 1 or 2 yard gain. I mean,
he's a 240-pound guy. I mean, they ran a quarterback power play earlier in the game
absolutely.
on 4th-1 with the guy, the Cam Newton type play.
Absolutely.
So why not give yourself the option of the quarterback running the ball in and stressing the defense outside rather than allowing what happened to happen? I mean, to leave him in the pocket really diminishes his opportunities for success in my mind.
All right, before I let you run, the sky is falling, of course, here in DFW. People are running in here before our show. Are they firing Garrett? Are they firing Garrett? They're not firing Garrett. We know that. The Cowboys have lost 3 in a row, but they're tied for the division lead. They play the Eagles. Tell us why the Cowboys are not dead. It's going to be okay. Please, give us a little good news.
Well, they're fortunate that they play in the only division where 3-3, gives you a share of the lead. And in fact, I think if the playoffs started today, the Cowboys would be the 4th seed. So there you go. They're a first place team, and they've got a great coach who's going to be here forever. and they're going to get the quarterback signed, and he's going to make a fortune. No, but I mean, the Eagles are a flawed team too. I mean, did you see what Kirk Cousins did to them?
I did.
Kirk Cousins is like, what, 6-27 against teams with a winning record, and he goes out and has a record-setting day. And Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs, who have been totally discontent and critical of their quarterbacks, have a record, the best day that they've ever had on offense in the time that 2 years that they've been together. So, I think Amari Cooper's quad ought to be feeling a lot better when he starts watching that tape.
You would think so. Edward, I always enjoyed it, man, and appreciate your work. And, good luck on that Doomsday podcast with a guy named Matt Mosley. I don't know how you stomach him, but y'all do a good job.
Well, it's mostly me, but
That's true.
Thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
There goes Ed Werder, longtime DFW
Thanks,
writer
Ed.
and ESPN,
Thanks, guys.
NFL reporter. I just watched. You guys watch Monday Night Football? Did you see the plays?
Yeah.
It's just maddening, and I had no dog in that hunt. I'm just watching for an entertaining game, and I'm like, that's not a penalty. That's not a penalty, and their jobs are lost over these calls. Games are won and lost. Jobs are lost. It just affects my viewing. I just get worked up about it because I think the referees are more flawed than ever.
Yeah, I do too.
It's maddening. All right, so let's calm down. Let's take a deep breath because the pregame meal is next, and I think Gil's going to foul Jason Garrett.
Yeah, let's get back into the Jason Garrett discussion. I asked these guys to help me out this week and come with a name or two or three or four of possible replacements for Garrett. And
But you don't think Garrett's going anywhere, do you? You're just playing fantasy football.
well, the timeline went like this.
Okay.
I'm down visiting my family in Louisiana last weekend, and I'm recording the Cowboys game.
Okay.
I catch peaks of it on TV before we walked out the door and got in the car to drive back. So I'm mostly listening to the game on the radio, and I'm thinking, this can't be happening. He's got to be fired. He'll be fired by the time we get to Shreveport. And then I started thinking, okay, well, then he'll be fired Monday. And then when I got home and calmed down, I realized he'll probably be fired next Monday when they lose to the Eagles. That was my timeline on it.
And a bye week that week, right?
And I really, I don't know. I mean, you guys make perfect sense about the futility of firing somebody mid-season.
Right.
But on the other hand, Jerry Jones is 77 years old.
He is.
And he's got to be thinking, do I really want to waste a season here?
Let's see if he believes what he said over and over, that this is as talented as a roster as I've ever had.
Right.
So the players, i.e. the roster, is in shape. I'm 77. We were 3-0. Now we're 3-3. Time on me and time on this season is dwindling. I need to make a change. If you can see that happening, but not with Jerry. He just doesn't think that
It'd be
way.
like if he had one more season that he knew of Troy at the top of his quarterbacking game and saying, "Well, we can't waste this season. You know, we got to do something now." And if he thinks that nine games is enough to turn the thing around and be a good playoff team, then he'd promote from within.
But, well, he also seems to have like a different sort of relationship with Jason Garrett than he's had with probably any coach he's had.
Yeah, it's called puppeteer and puppet, right?
Well, maybe to some degree.
Yeah, he
but
doesn't.
there's a lot of that. There's no doubt. It's a cliche.
He
but it's
doesn't
true.
rock the boat. I mean,
Yeah.
he's yes, sir, yes, Jerry.
Right, but I don't think he'll be fired during his
Listen,
season. Be like firing his kid.
Look,
I don't think he'll do it.
The New England Patriots. If you talk to the Patriot players, who are they beholden to? Who do they play for? They play for Bill Belichick.
No doubt.
The New Orleans Saints play for Sean Payton.
Yep.
Who do the Dallas Cowboys play for? They play for Jerry Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And for all the talk
a good
about
point.
how Jason is, he's different with the players and he's tough and he fights for them and all that kind of stuff. Jerry keeps paying all his guys, for favors granted in the past and wishes in the future, and so they're beholden to him. And to the players, they see Jerry's money as a sign. That's their pat on the head and their pat on the rump, saying, "You're doing great.
Sure.
You're doing great." There's no accountability here. There's certainly not any accountability to the current head coach because they're playing like that, and that's why I think he should be fired. That's why I think he's failed. But on the other hand, there's the question of if he's fired, then you should also fire the guy who's let him stay in the job this long and all that. And of course,
Jerry Jones, the owner. Yeah.
These kind of things none of these things may happen because we know the stubbornness of the man involved. So anyway, real quickly, I asked everybody to, first of all, come up with a date of when he would be fired, and then we'll save the date. I'll save them,
Okay.
and we'll go back. I say Monday.
Okay, you're saying October or whatever Monday is.
Yeah, Monday.
21st.
Right after the loss to the Eagles.
All right, put that down. January 2nd. He's going to make it through the year.
Lose the first playoff game.
This is if they don't make.
Oh, that's right. That's
Yeah,
not.
yeah,
Don't
yeah.
That
make
would
the
be
playoffs.
not
It's
making
January
the playoffs.
2nd. If they make the playoffs, it's 2 days after their playoff loss, unless they lose the NFC Championship game, which I think he gets extended.
Okay.
So of all those scenarios, I think give me 2 days after their first playoff loss, which early January.
I agree with that. I'll get more specific. It'll be 2 days after, or day after, if it's a Sunday.
Yep.
It'll be a day after their loss to the wild card team. Whoever wins that wild card game, they'll win that sorry NFC East.
Yeah, I think so too.
Actually, they'll wind up playing the best, the other division
It'll be
winner.
the lowest seeded
Right.
division winner and play a wild card.
No, that's who they'll lose.
So
Okay.
you're going early January too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just pick a day in January so we can have a bet. I'll take the 2nd
Yeah, we'll
at
we'll
3:30
count the days.
p.m.
I'll take the 5th,
Okay.
Okay.
Plead the 5th.
425.
All right.
So it's me and you against October man over there, Monday man.
I feel better.
Okay.
So do I.
Now, picking a successor,
Yes.
because I think it'll happen mid-season. I was at I had a much more limited list, so I'd be curious to see what your list is. But my limited list includes the usual suspects, and I guess I guess one of them would also be the guy that they would an interim coach. They'd almost certainly have to go with Chris Richard.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
the
Chris
defensive
Richard.
coordinator.
I don't think-
Marinella's the coordinator, but
Yeah.
if they have a young rising star on that staff, he's it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And despite how his defense has
They
performed,
looked bad against a horrible offense on Sunday.
so Chris Richard would be the interim. Now, after the season, all bets are off, and he could go to the usual list, which number one on the list would be Oklahoma's Lincoln Riley. And why would he want this headache? But he's got a better team right now. Maybe no, I don't.
Now, why do you say headache with Lincoln Riley?
Oh, I don't know.
You're saying it would be a headache for Lincoln Riley.
It'd be a headache for
Yeah.
Lincoln Riley. I don't know. He could probably get a lifetime contract at Oklahoma if he wants, but they all love the challenge and the brand and the whole deal.
And I can see why Lincoln Riley, other than the headache, would want the job. But how often are we going to go with the college coaches in the NFL? Does it ever work? I mean, is it?
Kingsbury, we'll see. They're starting to score points, and Kyler Murray's looking better and better. But does it usually work? No.
Yeah,
absolutely no.
but Jerry's done it twice.
Yeah.
He has.
Jimmy
the second
and Barry.
time,
Jimmy and
Barry
Barry.
and Lincoln.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would also pick Lincoln Riley because what he's done.
he'd be
Because
at the
what
top
he's
of my
done
list.
with Baker Mayfield
Yeah.
and Kyler Murray and now Jalen Hurts. The common denominator is not, boy, he's been lucky with 3 quarterbacks. Common denominator is the guy knows how to score points and put the quarterback in a favorable position.
I think
it's undeniable.
And he's no doubt he's a quarterback whisperer.
There you go.
Yeah.
You're right. Now, of course, all of his quarterbacks at OU have been what doesn't generally work in the NFL, which are mobile guys who get out and run down the field and all
True.
that stuff. They won't do that. But I do think he's got a good enough mind, I think, to adapt to more pro style, more NFL, prototypical NFL quarterback offense.
What's funny is we will see some more of the people's favorites names pop up when and if this happens. I think another name to consider would be Dan Campbell, who played with the Cowboys, I
former
think,
tight
for
end
3
here.
seasons,
Yep.
played in Super Bowl 44. He's currently the assistant head coach and tight ends coach of the Saints. He's been mentioned for head coaching jobs before. That's why Sean Payton elevated him to assistant head coach.
And he looks nothing like he did when he played here.
No,
amazing
The
how that
long hair and
happens.
a goatee, look like
Right,
he's been jumping
right.
a bucking bronco. Now he looks like
he's from Glen Rose. He's very
Yeah.
highly thought of. Next would be I'm sure some people are going to throw this guy's name out, so let's throw it out. Art Briles.
get the hell out of here.
I'm just saying, somebody that there are going to be people that'll say, yeah, he'd make
Yeah,
a great.
the
he'd make
people
a
is
great-
named Matt Mosley. That's it. Nobody else is going to
from
throw
Mount
that name
from
out
Mount
here.
Vernon to I don't from Mount Vernon to the Cowboys.
I think it's ludicrous too.
From high school to the Cowboys.
I'm not so sure that's such a stretch. With Jerry,
Get out of here.
you
I mean, who
never
would have thought that Barry
know.
Switzer?
You never know.
I still don't
that's a good
believe
point.
that Barry Switzer was the coach here
I'm
for.
pretty sure it happened, but yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe.
And then, of course, there's always Jerry's old standby, Larry Lacewell. There he is, pondering his comeback.
I don't think.
Of course, that picture was like 30 years ago, right?
Yeah, I think that was.
Lace.
I think that was the Saturday Night Massacre. That was '89.
God bless Lace. I think Lace is 82 years old now. God bless him. I hope he's in good health, and we love him because he
If
was.
not, he just had a heart attack hearing his name bantied about.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And the one the one really dark horse, I think, to be the head coach, and don't say it's not possible, would be, Ziggy, can you help me here? Jerry Jones.
Yeah, Ted Turner. Yeah,
Jerry Jones himself in coaching gear. Look at that. He's got the outfit. He's got the play card. Why does he need a play card?
He doesn't.
This is at
It's
training
all,
camp,
it's all
obviously.
props
Yeah.
to make you think he's important.
Yep. He's got the gear, though.
That
He's
would
certainly
not.
got the
Art
gear.
Briles and Larry Lacewell would surprise me more than Jerry Jones saying, "You know what? It's my team. I'm gonna put my
Well,
stamp over it."
obviously I'm having fun with this,
Yes.
but I think the Lincoln Riley Dan Campbell tandem is a possibility. But
that's not
who
bad.
Who do y'all think?
Early favorites for a bet that'll never happen. If it happens, it's Lincoln Riley. It makes too much sense. Who would I like to see that will never happen? Mike Leach. He would be so fun at press conferences and so wacky and so un-Jason Garrett.
he would enhance the brand.
He would enhance the brand. We would see like
He'd
crazy
scare Jerry
plays.
to death, though.
He would never punt. Everything Garrett does, he would undo.
Oh.
And it would be a total blast. And would they be better?
Yeah, I'd like
I don't
that.
know. Maybe they'll be 3-3.
Jerry would have him a new drinking buddy. That's for sure.
There's no doubt.
The one guy that keeps getting interviews, he's another college guy, is Matt Rule. And I was joking with Mosley before the season started that if the Texans flopped, that would be their guy.
Yeah.
We'll see. I don't know, but I think that's a name that's possible.
That's like a legitimate name, though.
That is a legitimate name.
Unlike Mike Leach.
So stay tuned. Enjoy Jason's last game Sunday
Oh, yeah.
Sunday night. My prediction.
What if they win? You just think they're going to go 3-13, don't you?
If they win, tune in next week.
All right, tune in next week anyway. And also read us daily at PressBoxDFW.com. Watch us right here Tuesdays. PressBox DFW Live. Next up in Double Dribble, you're telling me the Secretary of State is a dog whisperer?
So
And why are you laughing at my award-winning tease? That's what you said, isn't it?
So when we debuted this show, what was that March? March.
Ish, yeah.
We talked about where this marathon career of journalism has brought us, and
We're still here. We haven't
still
advanced
here.
that ball down the field 1
That's
inch.
a good metaphor right behind us.
Yeah, now I did not have any vote in that. Just because the Cowboys lose 3 games in a row, we're imploding
That
Texas
was me.
Stadium.
That was my suggestion.
All right. So anyway, most recently, as some of you know, I've become the managing editor at the Quarter Horse News, which
did know
does
that.
performance. We are the authority on performance horse shows, and that job required me to go to something called a Rodeer show, Rodeer National Championship.
I'm afraid that
Last week,
What is
RODEAR.
What?
I'm not
Could it
exactly
poss-
sure of the roots of that word, but it essentially means a gathering of cattle.
Okay.
I should know that, being from Johnson County, but I've just learned something. A rodeer.
So
You should. So last week was the Rodeer National Championship, and
Here we are.
They had the 10. It involves dogs doing their herd work, and it's in tandem with horse and man.
this is a competition that we're
This
seeing
is
right
actually
now?
kind of a training video. And they actually do this in ranch life because they'll cut 3 horses or they'll cut horses for branding purposes.
Oh. Excuse me.
And in the rodeer, in the tournament
Sure, that
style,
wasn't Cowboys Jets footage.
They-
It kind
they-
of looked like it.
they,
You got to pick up the blitz.
they,
Yeah, they didn't pick up the blitz coming around the middle.
they have to. So anyway, in this rodeer tournament, they have to work the dog and horse and man have to work 3 cattle through an obstacle course.
An obstacle course meaning like hay or gates.
It's actually gates.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, it's actually gates.
I don't like. They don't have to go into a windmill like putt-putt or anything like that.
So there's an open division, which is for they're professionals and non-pros, which they don't make their living specifically as dog owners or showers. So last week after the show, I went up to the office to make sure I had the name spelled correctly and to find out who these owners were of these dogs, because the ownership in the dogs and ownership in the horses is a very important part of the industry. And on the non-pro winner, the lady up there says, "That's Rex Tillerson's dog." I was like, "What?" Now, as we all know, Rex Tillerson was the former Secretary of State who was
Yes.
fired by the Donald
He was
Trump.
Secretary of State for like 10 minutes, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was about a year, maybe.
Yeah.
He lasted a year.
I think
Okay.
so. Maybe not. So I'm
Shortest
like,
tenured Secretary of State ever, I think.
probably.
Until the next one. Yeah.
So I'm like, "You're kidding me?" She goes, "No, that's Rex Tillerson's dog. He owns this dog." And now these dogs, mind you, can go for as much as they're tens of thousands of dollars. That these dogs can cost. Tens of thousands.
What breeds are we
If you
talking
say
about?
so.
They're Australian shepherds and breeds like that. They're the instinctive herd dogs. So I'm like, wow, I did not realize that. And he has a ranch out in Bartonsville, which is towards Wichita Falls, I believe. So with that knowledge, I walked out, and to my surprise, there was Rex Tillerson.
He was in the barn.
He was in the Will Rogers,
Wow.
the John Justin Arena, Will Rogers in Fort Worth.
You're telling me that's Rex Tillerson right there.
That is Rex Tillerson I saw at the event. And I went up and I introduced myself. And he was.
How'd you introduce yourself? PressBox DFW Live?
Did you give him a card?
I said, no, I didn't. I kicked
Oh, for
myself.
two, Bill.
Yeah. said Mr. Secretary, introduced myself, and he was very accommodating, very friendly. And I asked him about his dog, how he got into this.
Sure.
He says, well, this is kind of a newer hobby, and he wasn't showing the dog, but he assured me that he is going to show the dog. That's the goal, is that
that
he's
right?
going to be on horseback, showing the dog, leading him through these obstacles, leading the cattle through the obstacles. And as he said, I've got time to do it. He's now no longer Secretary of State.
Yeah.
So as I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, okay, here's the heir to Thomas Jefferson, who was Secretary of State,
Yeah.
William Seward, George Schultz, and he's going to be showing his herd dog.
He's be talking to
His
John
cow
Henry.
dog.
Screw the dogs. He's talking to
Right.
John Henry.
And I'm
Right,
telling you
right,
what,
right.
he was as happy. He couldn't have been happier when his firstborn arrived.
Now, did he have Secret Service? Does the
No,
former secretary
no.
say have anything around him? Nothing.
No,
Wow.
no. He was just
Clearly
sitting there.
not, because John Henry walked up and
Exactly.
engaged him.
Exactly. So as this conversation wore on, and I got him all comfortable, I decided, I'm going to ask him about.
Did you now?
Trump.
Good for you.
And I said, since I have you here,
Still have you hostage.
I've got to ask you.
Yeah.
And of course, he knew what was coming.
Sure.
And he pulls out his phone, and he's friendly and kind of goofing around. He goes, I'm just here for Gus, his dog, and starts taking pictures of Gus.
Oh,
out
he
there.
did?
Yeah, Gus is his dog. So
That's a polite
Gus is
way of
Gus is a good dog name too. Go ahead.
it is a good dog name.
good distraction.
It is a
too.
dog name.
So he deflected before you even
He
fired a
deflected
bullet.
before I even we were
Probably
able to fire
smart.
it off.
He had nothing good to say. Well, good for him. So he was
I doubt it.
relaxed and chill, and somebody
He was
enjoying life.
excited about his dog winning He couldn't have been happier about his dog winning non-pro.
So now I expect a Rex Tillerson bobblehead on your next show.
See if we can find it
he does.
along with Gus.
Yeah,
A Gus
along with
bobblehead.
Gus. All right, there's some double dribble for you. Next up in Wits End, the soiled, and I said soiled spirit of Aggieland. Wits End, where let's talk a little college football today. I did go down to A&M last weekend. Gil, I know you took a trip as well. But first, before we get into that, Jiggy, can you put up the picture of? Did you guys check any Baylor Tech highlights last week?
Oh yeah, I watched the whole game.
You did. Before we put the picture up, what were you struck by watching that game that looked really peculiar and almost comical?
The helmets.
Thank you very much.
Baylor's
we haven't
helmets.
talked about this.
No, not at all.
Gil,
I
did
didn't
you,
see
you were
it.
down
No.
at Baton Rouge. You probably didn't see
No,
this.
they
Look at
banned
these Baylor
Baylor on
helmets that
TV
they
there.
wore, and look at the bear. Look at that logo. What has happened to Baylor? Matt Mosley, if you're out there with a pulse, you got to answer
got a
for
sailor
this.
hat on?
What?
Sailor
Yes.
hat.
The Baylor Sailor Bear.
Baylor sailor. I mean, does that look menacing? That looks like the worst.
Well, that's a very 50s, early 60s.
Is it? I never
logo
remember Baylor
look.
looking like that. Those are
lot of
throwbacks.
Well,
schools-
I know the logo is, and I've never seen it on their helmets.
Yeah, what's
like
the
that before, but-
what?
Yeah.
But what does the sailor hat really do?
Oh,
Why
the
is it on a
sailor-
bear?
It was a design back
It
in
was.
those days, just like clip art of the 50s and 60s, and it was so prevalent that lots of schools incorporated their mascot with those sailor hats on. Really,
Gotcha.
and
Because of
and-
wartime
and
situation, or
because
what?
they were in the public domain, no schools now have it part of their licensed gear. So you'll see it for sale at Walmarts and all these places that sell non-licensed stuff.
Did not know that.
But I can't imagine that the team would actually embrace it.
I mean, I'm sure Tech was like, "Ooh, how are we ever going to beat this team
Now,
with teddy bears?" on their helmets?"
what I didn't realize or don't know is that a special helmet? It's
gotta-
Yeah,
or
it
is
has
that
to be.
their?
Was it homecoming?
I don't know that answer, but I know they've
It
been
was
wearing their
probably-
traditional like BU
on
yeah,
there.
all the rest
Yeah.
of the year. That was just something special and something awful.
Terrible.
So the Fighting
anyway.
Mosleys, but the Fighting Mosleys have something special going on this year down in Waco. They're
They
undefeated.
do.
So
They do
how were
indeed.
the Aggies dressed?
So the Aggies were dressed in like bullseyes because they got their butts whipped, which we're not surprised. Went down to Aggie Land with a bunch of buddies who have been saying, "You got to come to the game. You got to come to the game. You got to come to the game." So I went to the game, and I guess I admire A&M for their traditions, but they're so obnoxious. I got called out for walking on the grass, which I'm like, why can I walk on the grass? So this is a memorial to the fallen soldiers of and I'm like, grass is? I mean, there are people buried under here?
Maybe.
I'd had a couple of pops, and we had an exchange. And then I walked in to the student center, and I got, "Sir, can you kindly remove your cap?" Walking in a
student
school
center.
building, student center. I just don't. And I got to witness the Corps marching in to the game.
yeah.
There's 1,000 different, I don't know what they call them, squadrons. And I'm like, they're not real soldiers. If they were, they'd be in the actual military. Why are they holding flags and going left, right, left, your left? And I'm like, you're not real soldiers.
All I'm telling you is you're going to need Secret Service protection.
I just don't get it. And I was there with A&M people, and they were like, I think we
Ziggy,
used
can
to
we
be an
put
actual
Richie's
military
email address on there?
I respect the
sure.
fact that they are so beholden to those traditions. I just think they're silly. They're just playing. They're playing makeup.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine A&M before they let women in?
Yeah, well, that's what the only people that I was there with A&M students or alums, and they were like, "We used to be a military feeder school. We used to have not." And I was like, "Well, back then you might have been real soldiers, but these guys are just acting like they're. We might as well just dress up like we're jugglers in a circus."
You know, when I first started college,
Yes.
long time ago, we were required to take ROTC first 2 years.
Okay.
And I somehow found a way out of it. Didn't help me because I eventually got drafted. But yeah, people took ROTC for 2 years, and the ones who were real gung ho about it took it for an additional 2 years,
Yeah.
and then went off to officer candidate school upon graduation and got. They actually got a scholarship. The last part, but
Right.
you know, it was like training. Military.
And
Gotcha.
I think
that's what it
those
feels
guys
like.
are too, aren't they? I mean, those guys are kind of those guys will.
Yeah, but
Why aren't they in the
it's a
military?
mentality thing, though. I mean, I know what Richie's talking about. I've seen that look in their eyes.
so serious.
It's very serious.
And they were that serious about the Aggies beating Alabama that day. Before the game, they were like, "I think we've got this. Cover 2. We're going to play." And I was like, "Do you understand how fast Alabama is going to score on you?" And I'll be damned if A&M didn't take the ball and take a
Right.
7-0 lead.
Right.
And I was like getting bombarded with, "Told you this is special Saturday." And I was like, Alabama hadn't had the ball yet. ... Let's go to the highlights. Here's how fast Alabama was from this game Saturday. They've got this kid named Waddle. I think he's from around here. This kid, look how fast this guy. It looks like he's playing at a different speed.
and he's
than the
not their
Aggies.
best receiver.
Not even. That made it 7-7. That calmed down the Aggies a little bit. And then they threw to, I think the guy's name is Smith. On the next,
There you go.
I think Richie was right. I think that's what he was saying. Yeah, they sacked Mond here and made him punt. But the speed of Alabama was just like they were playing the JV. I mean, it was really. They just A&M took a lead and they gave them some hope. But when this next play happens, it turns into 14-7. Alabama just rolled them. It was 47-28 by the time we were done. There's Waddle again. That guy's going to be a star. And it led me to several cocktails, several tailgating, some trash talking. There's the touchdown made it 14-7. And I was able to snap a couple of pictures from my time down at College Station. There's me. Somehow my hook 'em horns flew up in front. And boy, did I get some looks. This was right outside.
Bet you did.
Right outside of Kyle Field. I'll be posting this today on Facebook to get killed. And then my proudest moment after the game was this next picture. We were at a tailgate, and this is what I spent my time doing. I was able to stack 2 full beers on top of my friend's wife's head. Is that kind of impressive?
I am impressed.
Now, it fell right after this picture was snapped, but for a minute, and you can see the fans behind me were really excited about that. So I spent most of the day and most of the weekend kind of inebriated. But
the
Aggies got done to them what we thought they were going to do. Alabama killed them. But I do respect their traditions, and they are so into it. They're into their make-believe world.
I mean, I don't get drunk down in College Station
Because
I'm afraid I'm gonna wake up being cuddled by one of those cheerleaders down there.
Before it was a co-ed school.
Gil calls them the milkmen.
Yeah, the yell leaders with the milkmen outfit.
they were prevalent.
Before it was a co-ed school.
Yes.
What did they kiss after touchdowns?
I'd like to leave it on that, but I want to hear quickly about your LSU trip. Any highlights?
Got to see the number 5 and 7 teams in the country play LSU and Florida.
LSU, if we didn't think they were for real, they're for real. They scored 42 on a really good defense. Florida.
They had a good night. It was a lot of fun visiting the old school for homecoming.
All right, so you got Rex Tillerson and his dog. I got Aggies, and Gil got LSU. Who won?
I mean, like I said, I saw the heir to Thomas Jefferson. I think I won.
I saw the heir to Bubba Bean, or whoever the hell it was. All right, next up on PressBox DFW Live, we had to get up on out here. Time to round the bases, and let's head for home. Read us daily, PressBoxDFW.com. Editor Gil Leberton, what's up on the site this week?
Well, be sure after every Cowboys game, look for Richie's 10 observations after each game. We try and get it up there quickly, and it's a lot of the stuff that you're going to be arguing about for the rest of the week. Richie gets it up quickly.
Pull that quote.
John's got a great. John's got a real interesting story about Scotty Walden.
I like that story.
Who is
From
the
Cleveland.
Yeah, he's offensive. He's the young offensive coordinator from Cleveland, offensive coordinator for Southern Miss, and his story is well worth reading about. And it's a lot of quick twists and turns at a young age, and he truly is a rising star.
Great guy too.
A couple comments on Facebook this week from the viewers watching live. Gil, they're ripping on you for saying Coach Garrett is great and won't be fired, saying he will be fired. One guy wants to talk Stars next week. When there's Coach getting fired, by the way. Well, maybe we'll talk some hockey.
Boy, that might be by the end of the week.
And then somebody says, is that Mike Leach in the middle there? Do you look like Mike Leach these days?
I think he's talking about
Oh, he's talking about the dog.
Barney the dog.
I get it. Touche. All right, there you go. So the Cowboys now 3-3. They play the the Eagles Sunday night in a big showdown. And Gil says they will lose that game. And on next week's show, we'll be talking about a new head coach. Stay tuned right here on PressBox DFW Live. For Gil Leberton, for John Henry, I'm Richie Witt. We'll see you in the PressBox DFW.